Live from Manchester, it's Graham Norton.
Hey.
Be a good start if I looked at the right camera. Congrats on the new novel. It's such a pleasure having you here. For those playing at home, can you give us a quick synopsis, 25 words or less? What's it about?
If you've read any of the other books, it doesn't, scare the horses. This is a family drama set in West Cork. Relationship ends messily, and then there's some dark secrets in a house that get uncovered. It's a yarn. It's like the other books. It's just a good old-fashioned yarn.
Well, it sounds intense. I like that you had 25 words and one of them was ooh. I mean, you really... to use that up, that's confidence.
About 20 of them were ooh or
Hey, you're obviously known as a comedian. Like, you're a very funny person. As a raconteur, you're very funny. But when you write, you actually go to some quite dark sorts of areas. Why do you think that is?
I guess it's because it's a reaction to everything else I do. Everything else I do is sort of, it's very up. My show is a very silly show. We don't talk about anything serious. Nothing kind of sad happens. I think we've had one guest once. They managed to make themselves cry, and we cut it out. So there's no room for sadness. So when I do the books, I guess I'm in a more kind of reflective mood, and they do end up being. This book actually is the funniest of the four novels, I think.
And what kind of writer are you, Graham? Like, when you finish a draft of your book, I know when I finish a draft or a script, I'm always nervous about pressing send to the publishers. Do you just want to get rid of the baby, or are you nervous about sending it on?
Listen, by the time I get to the end, I'm so relieved that it and also then what's interesting, you know what it's like. Once you send something into the world, then it does become more collaborative. Then you're getting notes from editors, and friends are reading first drafts and giving you feedback. So I quite enjoy the rough and tumble of that, because there's things you kind of hope you'll get away with in a book, particularly in a plot-driven book, where you think, will people buy that? And sometimes they do, and sometimes everyone comes back and going, yeah, you have to do something about that. No one's going to believe that. So those are the kind of the interesting bits once it's out in the world.
What about when it starts to take on a life of its own? So, for example, your first novel, Holding, has been turned into a television series. I understand you weren't particularly involved in that. It was more other people doing that, and you've just got to put up with whatever they do with your stuff. Are you comfortable in that sort of situation?
It was. Look, I wrote the book, and they did ask, did I want to adapt it? But I think that's a skill. That's a job that somebody can do or can't do. And it wasn't a skill I was particularly interested in acquiring. I found it fascinating to see what other people did with those characters and stuff. And also, what was lovely was the one thing they couldn't change was West Cork. It was filmed in West Cork. Those are the streets that I was writing about. Those are the houses, the places, that beautiful coastline. So it's kind of a love letter to West Cork.
Your talk show is celebrating, I think, 15 years now, which is incredible. You've interviewed almost every A-lister on the planet. Is there still someone on your bucket list?
There's a few we've never had. We've never had Julia Roberts, unless you Google it and discover we have, but I don't think we have. Brad Pitt has never been on. We've never had Brad Pitt. Oh. And I would love to have some of the young royals on, a William, a Kate, or a Harry or a Meghan. I'd like to have them on.
So I think Carrie's already interviewed Brad Pitt, Julia Roberts.
Oh, sorry, Graham.
In fact, Graham, I'm pretty sure we had Julia Roberts.
I'm losing you.
Well, Graham, the world stopped to watch the Queen's funeral recently. Did an Irishman like you, did you stand in line to see her lie in state? Or what were you doing? Did you watch the funeral?
I didn't stand in line to watch it, but it was kind of extraordinary. And you're right, being Irish, it was different. I've lived in Britain for nearly 40 years, so I was very fond of her, and I respected her, and I acknowledged that she had this extraordinary life of service. But to see the reaction of the British public, you realise that it was more than that. That woman's in their DNA. They were born seeing her on stamps, on money. If they went to church, they prayed for her. If they went to school, they learnt about her. She's in them. So to see the reaction of the British public was gorgeous. And as I say, kind of humbling, really, just to see the impact it had.
Now, with 45 seconds left, I'm going to do what you do to your guests, ask a personal question and hope that you want to answer it. How was your wedding?
It was awful. We had it. We had a big party in West Cork, and everyone was really supportive and kept it a big secret. But people got excited about, who might be there. And at one stage, there was a sighting in the local supermarket of Adele without makeup.
We are out of time. Graham, let us know if you want us to pass a message on to Jules or Brad. In the meantime, Graham's book Forever Home is available tomorrow wherever you get your good books from. Graham Norton, thanks so much.
Thanks, Graham.